P4 Carl Struhol, keeping it clean. Now watching Alex McBean. Now watching Daryl Kruger. P8 Daryl Kruger, keeping it clean.
All right, just another minute. We're going to roll this thing into qualifying. I will read the driver's brief if anybody wants to hear it.
Kruger, keeping it clean.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, welcome to round 2 of the MNRL Kart 1985.
Daryl Kruger fastest in Newman House Racing, 17.525.
Champ car, kart, whatever you want to call it.
Now watching Brian Hall.
Please stay on Discord, boys, for the race director notes. All the loud global aids are clutch, auto lift,
Brian
and
Hall
whip
goes
only.
purple in Sector 1.
We will be starting qualification shortly for 15 minutes.
For Brian Hall.
Please respect
now
the hot
watching
laps
Gilles Lalonde.
of other competitors on your out lap, and so that means just hang out there to the left if you are rejoining the track and somebody's coming around on their hot lap, because that's easy to interfere with somebody's lap, and let's try not to do that. We got one 45-minute race after the 15-minute qualifying. Fuel, tires, mechanical wears all at 1x, and then time and weather are real. We're going to do a formation lap to a rolling start.
Now watching
so
Alex
we'll follow
McBean.
the pole sitter around with I gave us 3 minutes to get around this short track, so I should have changed that, but that's what we're going to have to live with, or I'd have to reset the server, and we're not going to do that. So stay approximately 1 to 2 car lengths behind the car in front and keep distances consistent. Tire and brake warming are allowed, but no overly aggressive weaving, accelerating, or hard braking. There's no restarts for damage if you happen to make a mistake warming up during the formation lap, plus the rail. Drivers are required to maintain safety during the formation lap and be predictable, and the formation lap may be considered part of the orange zone when assessing incidents. And be careful not to ruin your race or another driver's when the lights go out for the standings. Now that's I need to edit this. When we go green as each pair hits the start-finish line, that's the way we're going to start this race. A formation lap to a rolling start, and as each pair crosses the start-finish line, that's when each row's race starts. So that way we can hopefully avoid any real carnage on lap 1. So the track limits 1 wheel touching the racing surface in addition to the cut limits imposed by RF2. Always pit entry and exit, always treat the solid entry and exit lines as solid walls, and do not cross when there are cars coming onto or off of pit road. Pit lane speed limit, I think, is 50 or 62? It's easily easy to go over, so try to avoid that.
Alex McBean sets a personal best through Sector 1. Now watching Gilles Lalonde
too, so I won't have time to clear penalties.
It's 62.
Blue flag drivers may not use defensive lines against faster cars, but both drivers have a responsibility for executing a clean pass. Follow the CMS golden rule of racing. If you gain advantage through contact, track cut, or other means, return the time or position to negate the advantage gained. And also, if you do go off track, be sure to safely rejoin as not to interfere with other drivers' race, please. If your race is affected by another driver and you feel the situation
P5
needs reviewed
Gilles
by race
keeping it
stewards,
clean.
please submit an IRR. There's a link in the IRR Discord in there to the method and the time frame for that. We have no outstanding penalties. Or signed DQs will not be cleared. If you're stuck or your car isn't dead, don't hit escape. Control Alt Delete. I think also Alt F4 works, and you can rejoin. And then an escape will end your race immediately. And be careful with the engines not to over rev them, or it will blow up. Maybe even with just 2 minutes to go. That's one of my friends in tonight's race already knows from Caesar's Palace. So
he was on fire.
Try to get her to the end. Oh, there he's mentioned. I wasn't going to say any names, but he shouted out on there on the Discord chat. So, any questions, or we're going to roll this baby into qualifying? I like that silence. That must mean go for it. So here comes push the button. So if you're on track, you might get off, because here comes, we're going to roll into qualifying. All right. And thanks, guys, for coming out to drive these difficult cars. I know that might limit our field, but we're going to have some fun anyway and try to master these turbocharged beasts. Oh, Ollie wasn't saying it was him that blew up. He's just saying hi. That's all there is to it. So that's not to imply he had anything to do with anything I was talking about.
Now watching Brian Hall.
Be careful coming out of the pits, guys, with that speed limit.
Now watching Tommy Teasdale. That's the quickest Sector 1 we've seen. Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Oliver Day. Tommy Teasdale has spun in Canadian Tire Racing. Let's see that again.
Thank you.
We're back with Oliver Day in P2 in now watching Brian Hall. P2 for Oliver Day in Canadian Tire Racing with a 1:3.863. That's the quickest Sector 2 we've seen, Brian Hall. Now watching Carl Struhel. P4 Carl Struhel keeping it. Oh, Gilles Lalonde has spun in Forsyth Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Carl Struhel in P1. Now watching Craig Gallagher. P7 Craig Gallagher keeping it clean. Now watching Daryl Kruger. Ten minutes remaining. Fastest in Canadian Tire Racing, Oliver Day, 1:2.322. Now watching Oliver Day. Now watching Brian Hall. Gilles Lalonde has spun in Forsyth Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Brian Hall in P1 in Penske. Now watching Oliver Day. Now watching Daryl Kruger. P5 Daryl Kruger keeping it clean. Now watching Carl Struhel. Daryl Kruger has spun in Newman Haas Racing. Let's see that again. Halfway point, 8 minutes remaining. We're back with Carl Struhel in P1 in Dick Simon Racing. P4 Carl Struhel keeping it clean. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Green sector 2 for Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Brian Hall. A three-car pack. Oliver Day, Carl Struhl and Daryl Kruger battling it out. P3 Oliver Day, keeping it clean. I'm watching Alex McBean. P5 Alex McBean, keeping it clean. Personal best in sector 2 for Alex McBean. Alex McBean sets a personal best through sector 3. Now watching Oliver Day. P3 Oliver Day, keeping it clean. Five minutes remaining. Personal best in sector 2 for Oliver Day. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Tommy Teasdale, now 10 laps done. Now watching Brian Hall. Brian Hall, now 11 laps done. Oliver Day has spun in Canadian Tire Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Brian Hall in P1 in Penske. Now watching Carl Struhl. Carl Struhl finding time in sector 3. Now watching Alex McBean. Alex McBean sets a personal best through Sector 1. 2 minutes remaining. P2 Oliver Day, keeping it clean. Now watching Alex McBean. One minute remains. Now watching Oliver Day. Oliver Day now 11 laps done. Oliver Day sets a personal best through Sector 1. Now watching Carl Struhel. The checkered flag is out for qualifying. We'll have the results once timing and scoring confirm the final order.
All right. Well, congratulations, Tommy. Into the 101.6. Good job. And everybody that went faster like me. That was by far my best. So all right, we got I still left it on 10-minute warm up. I meant to say I think I have it wrote down as 15, but we got 10 minutes of warm up. We'll let this full thing run out. And so get your race setup loaded, get adjusted to full fuel for 10 minutes, and then we'll roll this thing into the race. And Tommy will lead us around on a slow lap because I gave it's 3 minutes to get around for that rolling start. So go ahead and get adjusted to fuel.
Here are the qualifying results.
Fellas, and
now
we'll
for Canadian Tire Racing, Tommy Teasdale takes pole with 1:0.648. Oliver Day second, unknown
when this
third.
race is over,
Now for Penske, Brian Hall takes pole with 11.963.
So I want to see what
unknown
these cars
second,
are like
unknown third.
lap time to
now
the
for Dick
other
Simon Racing,
IndyCar series
Carl
that
Struhel
racing
takes
at
pole with
Barber on Thursday night.
12.656. Unknown second,
Probably going to
unknown
leave the server
third.
up like that
Now
for
for
a day,
Krakow
and then I'll
Racing,
switch
Alex
it
McBean
to,
takes pole
our
with
next race, which is Long Beach
13.186.
on the,
Unknown second,
historic
unknown
track.
third.
But
Now for Newman
if
Haas
anybody's
Racing,
interested, just
Daryl
want to let
Kruger
you know
takes
about
pole
that
with
after. That'll be after this race.
unknown
So
second, unknown
any
third.
questions? Everybody doing
Now
all
for
right?
Forsyth Racing, Gilles Lalonde takes pole with 14.526. Unknown second, unknown third. In All-American races, Craig Gallagher on pole with 111.163. Unknown and known behind. Warm-up session underway. 15 minutes to prepare. Now watching Craig Gallagher.
It's going to be a very slow
P8 Craig Gallagher,
formation lap.
keeping it clean. P8 Craig Gallagher, keeping it clean. P8 Craig Gallagher, keeping it clean. Now watching Daryl Kruger. P2 Daryl Kruger, keeping it clean. Five minutes remaining. Gilles Lalonde is in trouble in Forsyth Racing. Here's the replay. We're back with Daryl Kruger in P1 in Newman Haas Racing. P1 Daryl Kruger, keeping it clean. Brian Hall is closing in 0.7 seconds in the last 4 laps. P1 Daryl Kruger keeping it clean. P2 Daryl Kruger keeping it clean. P3 Darryl Kruger, keeping it clean. Two minutes remaining. Tommy Teasdale has spun in Canadian Tire Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Craig Gallagher in trackside view. P2 for Oliver Day in Canadian Tire Racing with a 1:12.457. That's 9.65 behind Tommy Teasdale. One minute remaining. P2 now watching Gilles Lalonde. That's the end of the warm-up session.
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now?
It's the end of the session.
All right.
Carl.
Sorry that we got to take it real slow for this 3 minutes to get around. I'll need to. I'll try to examine that before races and adjust properly, because 2 minutes would have been plenty enough time to get around. But we'll work with what we got, and I appreciate y'all coming out to race, and hopefully we can all make it to the finish line. So good luck and have fun, everybody. "20 seconds to get to the grid."
And here we have the grid for today's race. 8 cars across 7 classes, starting with All-American racers. Leading All-American racers, Craig Gallagher in the number 2, Tom Sneaver. Moving on to Canadian Tire Racing. P2, Oliver Day in the number 76, Jacques Villeneuve. Moving on to Penske. Leading Penske, Brian Hall in the number 11, Al Unser. Moving on to Dick Simon Racing. Leading Dick Simon Racing, Carl Struble in the number 22, Roel-Bozel. Moving on to Krakow Racing. Leading Krakow Racing, Alex McBean in the number 18, Kevin Cogan. Moving on to Forsyth Racing. Leading Forsyth Racing, Gilles Lalonde in the number 33, Howdy Holmes.
You've got Electrolux on the back of your spoiler.
Moving on to Newman Haas Racing. Leading Newman Haas Racing, Darrell Kruger in the number 1 Mario Andretti. Moving on to All-American Racers. Leading All-American Racers, Craig Gallagher in the number 2 Tom Sneaver.
Yeah, 2 minutes would have been plenty. Sorry about that, fellas. Good job, Tommy.
Oh, here's another look. Returning to the battle for P1 in Canadian Tire Racing, Tommy Teasdale versus Oliver Day. P1 Tommy Teasdale keeping it clean. Great Cracker racing for P1. This battle continues, neither giving up. Great Penske racing for P1. Oh, while the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. Returning to the battle for P2 in Penske, Oliver Day versus Brian Hall. On board with Alex McBean. P6 Alex McBean keeping it clean. This battle continues, neither giving up. This battle continues, neither giving up. This battle continues, neither giving up. Tommy Teasdale has spun in Canadian Tire Racing. Let's see that again. Returning to the battle for P5 in Krakow Racing, Daryl Kruger versus Alex McBean. On board with Carl Struhal. Carl Stroh challenging Tommy Teasdale for position. Carl Struhal works through traffic. P3 Carl Struhal keeping it clean. Trackside view. While the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. We're back with Tommy Teasdale in P2. Now watching Brian Hall. Pit stop for Tommy Teasdale, currently P4. P2 Brian Hall keeping it clean. Gilles Lalonde is in trouble in Forsyth Racing. Here's the replay. We're back with Brian Hall in P1 in Penske. P2 Brian Hall keeping it clean. Carl Struhl has spun in Dick Simon Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Brian Hall in P1 in Penn. Now watching. Oh, while we were elsewhere, Gilles Lalonde stopped on track on lap 7. We're back with Craig Gallagher in P1 in All-American races. Gilles Lalonde has ducked into the pits from P8. P7 Craig Gallagher keeping it clean. A 3-car pack, Carl Struhl, Darrell Kruger and Alex McBean battling it out. P3 Carl Struhl keeping it clean. While the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. We're back with Carl Struhl in P1 in Dick Simon Racing. Carl Struhl now 11 laps done. Now watching Oliver Day. The leader has a comfortable gap. The leader has a comfortable gap. Alex McBean looking to get by Darrell Kruger. Alex McBean works through traffic. Darrell Kruger has ducked into the pits from P5. P4 Alex McBean, keeping it clean. Alex McBean now 14 laps done. Losing a bit of pace now, Alex McBean. P4 Alex McBean, keeping it clean. Now watching Oliver Day. The leader has a comfortable gap. 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 Halfway point, 25 minutes remaining. On board with Tommy Teasdale. This battle continues, neither giving up. Tommy Teasdale is reeling in trackside view. Traffic cleared for Tommy Teasdale. Tommy Teasdale has been quicker, pulling away. P4, Tommy Teasdale, keeping it clean. Tommy Teasdale now 20 laps done. P4, Tommy Teasdale, keeping it clean. Now watching Brian Hall. Brian Hall now 22 laps done. Brian Hall now 23 laps done. P2 Brian Hall, keeping it clean. Brian Hall, now 24 laps done. P2 Brian Hall, keeping it clean. Tommy Teasdale, now 25 laps done. Tommy Teasdale making a move on Carl Strohal. Traffic cleared for Tommy Teasdale. Tommy Teasdale is pulling away, gap up by... Tommy Teasdale is in trouble in Canadian Tire Racing. Here's the replay. We're back with Tommy Teasdale in P2 in Canadian Tire Racing. Tommy Teasdale now 26 laps done. While we were elsewhere, Tommy Teasdale stopped on track on lap 26. We're back with Tommy Teasdale in P2 in Canadian Tire Racing. Tommy Teasdale, now 27 laps done. Trackside view. Alex McBean now 27 laps done. Losing a bit of pace now, Alex McBean. Let's look back at something we missed earlier. We're back with Alex McBean in P1 in Cracker Racing. P5 Alex McBean keeping it clean. Alex McBean now 29 laps done. Now watching Carl Struhol. P3 Carl Struhol keeping it clean. The gap is coming down for Tommy Teasdale. Carl Struhol now 31 laps done. Tommy Teasdale looking to get by Carl Struhol. Tommy Teasdale clears the slower car. This battle continues, neither giving up. Watch Tommy Teasdale behind Oliver Day closing fast. Tommy Teasdale is losing touch with Oliver Day. We're back with Tommy Teasdale in P1 at Canadian Tire Racing. The leader has a comfortable gap. Ten minutes remaining. While the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. We're back with Tommy Teasdale in P1 in Canadian Tire Racing. The leader has a comfortable gap. The leader has a comfortable gap. Now watching Brian Hall. Brian Hall now 34 laps done. Alex McBean challenging Oliver Day for position. Alex McBean gets by Oliver Day. Oliver Day is in trouble in Canadian Tire Racing. Here's the replay. We're back with Alex McBean in P1 in Cracker Racing. P4 Alex McBean, keeping it clean. Oliver Day has ducked into the pits from P5. While we were elsewhere, Tommy Teasdale stopped on track on lap 35. We're back with Alex McBean in P1 in Cracker Racing. Alex McBean now 35 laps done. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Craig Gallagher is struggling to maintain the pace. P5 Craig Gallagher keeping it clean. 5 minutes remaining. Craig Gallagher, now 35 laps done. Craig Gallagher now 35 laps done. Carl Struhal has spun in Dick Simon Racing. Let's see that again. We're back with Craig Gallagher in P1. Tommy Teasdale going for it on Brian Hall. Tommy Teasdale works through traffic. Tommy Teasdale now 39 laps done. While the action has quieted down, let's revisit an earlier moment. Returning to the battle for P1 in Canadian Tire Racing, Tommy Teasdale versus Brian Hall. Tommy Teasdale now 39 laps done. Trackside view. Now watching Brian Hall. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Brian Hall. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Craig Gallagher. 1 minute remaining. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Brian Hall. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Brian Hall. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Now watching Carl Struhel. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Brian Hall. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Craig Gallagher is getting into a rhythm now. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Brian Hall. The Canadian Tire Racing winner is Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Alex McBean. Now watching Carl Struhal. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Now watching Tommy Teasdale. Now watching Craig Gallagher. Now watching Tommy Teasdale.
All right, well done, everybody that brought her home, and Tommy for winning the hard way. I hope the finishers enjoyed it, and I remember because that was one of my favorite races as a kid growing up. So thanks for coming out and racing these beasts.
Thanks for doing what you do, Kyle.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you come out and have fun and get her to the end. That's a big part of it right there. So that's a fun deal. And then for, like I say, for anybody that might be interested, I've got a mod pack with Barber, the same track that Norris is running Thursday night, that I want to take these cars out on, and we'll see how it compares in lap time and